in, okay? Bear with me. Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. So, guys, I am Professor Lucenti. This is Managing Quality, and I love doing a breakout session or a kickoff call, typically in the second week of the term. And I think this is important because you get the feel of the class. It's a little different than some of your other classes. And I laugh at that because, when you think about the discussion post, I get more questions about the discussion assignment than anything else in this class. So it's like, April, shouldn't I be posting to 2 peers by Sunday? What's going on with that? So we split the discussion assignment in this class, and you'll notice you have your intro or your Thursday or Wednesday night post, and then you have your 2 peer posts the following week. So that kind of throws people off right away in this class. So don't feel bad because it is true. You're just going to make your initial post, and your first week, second week, you're going to do your 2 peer posts. So it's a little different than probably what you're used to. But my name is Professor Lucenti. I did get married, so I'm actually April Kinchin now, but you can definitely check me out on LinkedIn. And a lot of my students ask after this class, can I network with you? And my answer is yes. I love to still connect with my students. So please feel free to do that. You can reach me. I really like email, guys. First, so if you're having an issue with the class, I tend to check my email before I check anything on this class. So shoot me an email. I've got a question. And then if you're wanting some office hour time with me, I do offer that to my students. So office hours are Monday and Tuesdays, and I do it in the evenings because I figure a lot of people work and mornings and the middle of the day really just doesn't work for students. So I do make myself available in the evenings. Also, I do make myself available on Saturdays as well. And I'm happy to do any kind of call with you. I do FaceTime and I do Skype. So if you have a preference, please let me know. And again, like I said, you can reach me also by my phone. I put my phone actually here, so you can text me and say, hey, Professional Lucenti, I'm in this section of the course. Put your name and let me know what you need. If you're going to be late with something, please let me know ahead of time so I can best support you. I know this is a challenging time for everybody. I know a lot of our students are parents too. And some of us are even juggling educating our kids at home in addition to educating ourselves. So I get it, things happen, but just communicate and I'll definitely work with you. This class is one of my favorite classes to teach, actually, because I think organizations are going to deliver a quality product or they're not. And they sometimes fail in this situation, or there's quality issues because they don't really follow total quality management principles. So we're going to be focused on the culture of the organization. Is it a culture of quality or not? We're going to determine what the approach should be, the planning aspects of that. We'll recognize the importance of managing quality to improve performance and a competitive advantage in the organization. We'll also learn a variety of critical tools. You're going to hear about Fishbone, and you're going to be like, what is that? Okay, that's a quality management tool, actually. So, and then we're going to discuss the key elements to improve and change organization and its behavior when we're implementing quality initiative. I like to give that example that I gave in the first week about, going to Starbucks and after so many years of drinking Starbucks coffee, I just expect certain quality, right? So if I go up to the drive-through and I get an ice cold latte, but it's supposed to be a hot latte, that's quality, right? That's total quality management that's failing at that particular location. But I hold all of Starbucks accountable for that one, not just the location, right? The organization itself. So it's a really simple example. There's a lot more detail in this course, but it's important to point out that's what I mean when we're talking about quality, is the culture in that environment supporting quality and the follow through of that. So engagement, attendance, I have 2 sections of this course. So some of you are meeting some of your peers in the other course, but it's all the same. Essentially, I'm looking for things to be turned in by the due date, of course, participation in the discussion thread, substantive initial peer posts, completing quizzes by the deadline, and getting your assignments in on time. This course builds each week towards your final project. And your final project is a big chunk of your grade in this class. So we'll talk about that in a minute, but you're building to it. You'll notice this week you have a proposal of what you want to talk about in your final project. So that's really important to keep in mind. And think about really high quality issues that have been happening as of late. I think it's kind of interesting. Like, for example, I'll just grab my cell phone. This is Samsung. This is a Samsung product, okay? But a couple years ago, they were having some quality issues with their phones kind of catching fire on planes. Remember that? So that might be, you know, a company that you do your final project on, and you talk about the quality misses in that situation. So it's important to think about the different types of organizations that have had quality issues over the years. Tesla, love their cars, have had quality issues, okay? And there's been several articles written about that. So it's really important to kind of start thinking about your final project now and what organization you're going to do it on. A lot of people ask me, are there videos, April? Are there, you know, resources I can look at for some of these terminology? A lot of this is going to be in your final project. So I always talk to students about ASQ. Consider them like the SHRM organization for HR, but for quality management, all things quality management. So they have a huge YouTube channel of videos on all of the concepts we're going to be covering in the course. So, and it's free. So, and I'll put the slides in with this recording in my announcements this week so that you'll have these resources you can refer back to. But I love ASQ. I also like Cambridge University. They have a whole site dedicated to total quality management, and they cover a lot of the things we'll be covering in this course. So expectations, we have 1,000 points, and this kind of shows you kind of the breakdown of what we're going to be doing. So again, it's like that special 2-week discussion assignments. We have 4. And they're a total of 180 points. Obviously the getting started is 20 points. Case studies, we'll have 3 of those. Those will total 300 points, 100 points each. We also have quizzes in this course, totaling 150 points. We have the final project, and like I said, it's a whopping, you know, 265 points. So that's how the class was built. Now, your milestone 1 and 2 are important because you'll be working up to the final project. So you'll be doing some of the work ahead of time, which I think is great. And like I said, this week you'll be doing a proposal on your final project and what you're thinking of in terms of company. So academic honesty, I take it seriously in this course. I kind of like to review this with every student, but it's plagiarism and self-plagiarism. Really when you're just taking somebody else's work and not citing properly, okay? And at this level in your college, I mean, this is a high level course right now. I expect you to be citing and paraphrasing and quoting appropriately to APA guidelines, okay? Self-plagiarism is when, if you are returning or in my class for the second time, is using work from the previous time you were here. So that's basically what self-plagiarizing is. And a lot of students will say, okay, I couldn't finish last term. Instructor Lucenti, can I use some of the material? You have to let me know ahead of time you're going to do that, and let's work through what you're going to use, okay? Some of it previously may not have been graded on a high scale, so you may not want to reuse something from a previous class you've taken with me. So just reach out to me if you're going to repurpose any work from another course, because it could be also fall under plagiarism. So I can't say enough things about your writing center, and you may not have visited it, but if you're not sure where it is or where it's located, you would go to online student services in your portal. And if you come down here, you'll see Academic Support Center. And then there's the Online Writing Center located within. This is awesome if you still are just struggling with college writing, which a lot of people do. I did when I went back to get my master's. It was 20 years later. I hadn't written a paper in 20 something years. I wrote great emails and proposals, but I hadn't written at the college level. So I needed a lot of this type of support when I came back to school many years later. So I would use this. I would do the drop-off paper review. It's great. Allow them a couple days to get it back to you, but they can catch some things that would cost you points, right? You can also do a chat up, or you can chat with a writing coach, which I think is fantastic. So keep that in mind if you're looking at submitting writing. Ahead of time, if you want that extra help, you have this support in SNHU. And I teach for other schools, and I can tell you they don't have this. So this is really great to have a team of people that will help you get better at writing. So APA style, I use Purdue OWL. Been using them for 20 years on everything, all things APA. So they just really know what they're doing. They have great videos on how to use in-text citation properly, how to paraphrase, everything you want to know about APA. I recommend Purdue OWL. Discussion posts, I'm looking for substantive, so keep that in mind, but I'm also looking for you to support something. It's not enough just to have an opinion in your discussion. Support it with the course material with a citation and a reference. And the reason I say that is at this level, you should be supporting your discussion throughout each week. I have an opinion too on a lot of things, but part of college writing is supporting it with a cited source. You can use our text, or you can use a library source. It also gets the conversation going. So it's something that really you're passionate about, you really have a point of view. Take an in-text citation, plop it in, and support it. I'm not asking you to do in-text citation or a reference for peer response, but I would like to see it in your initial post during the week to kick off the discussion. And I think it makes you a stronger writer by doing that. It's additional practice. So I like for you to set up just remember to set up the quote. And I give some examples here, but according to Jones, students often say they have difficulty using APA style, especially when it's the first time in the page number. So always remember you want to set up the quote, use quotes if you're using the direct quote. If you're paraphrasing, you don't use direct quotes, you just paraphrase it at the end with the author and the year. Okay, so different styles, but you want to look and see what you're doing. So if you're rewriting it in your own words, but you're wanting to cite the source, that's a little different than using an actual quote. APA, 7th edition, just picked it up, I don't know, a few years ago. I don't know, a year ago is when they launched it, I guess. And I got this used like $8 online, so I strongly recommend it. Anything you want to know about writing APA style is in this book, but also keep in mind, I've got some electronic sources if you don't like paper to get better at APA. Turnitin scores. You really shouldn't have a score higher than 30%, okay? And a lot of people ask me why. So part of that is a 70-30 ratio is what they call it. So 70% of that paper should be you. your writing, okay? 30% or less can be quotes or paraphrase material. So here's the rule of thumb. I started doing this back when I did my graduate. Now I'm finishing up my dissertation for my doctorate. I write the whole paper first without looking for the references. Okay, I'm gonna give you just a tip, okay? If I'm passionate about the subject matter, I can write the paper without the references. I know what I want to say. And then what I do is I go back and I find really strong references to support each paragraph. So at most, I have one reference per paragraph, okay? One in-text citation per paragraph, okay? If you write the whole paper before sticking, copy, paste, doing all that, you'll be at 100% original content. So when you add one quote per paragraph, then you're going to meet that less than 30% threshold every time. And I'm saying this because I had to learn this the hard way, but I loved using other material and quotes and paraphrasing. And I had a professor tell me a couple of years ago, why don't you just write the paper? You know the material you've been reading, you have an understanding of the concept, and then go back and add your source material. And I got better, and that 30% dip. I usually come in about 15% now with my Turnitin score, because I write it first, add the quotes after. Just the tip, you don't have to do that. It's just something I do, and it keeps that score low. I also look at things like, if it is over 30%, I'm going to take a look at it. If it looks like you've missed the mark on paraphrasing or giving cited material credit where it's due, I will put a 0 in the grade book and ask you to rework the assignment. And I want to work with you. Here's the thing. I'm not a 0 and walk away from the student. I'm like, okay, this is a 0, but I'm going to give you an additional week to fix this essay and turn it back into me. And if it's all there and your score is good, I grade it. I don't take off anything due to turning in it a week after the due date. I want to give you time to get better as a writer. That's what I think every professor should do. And I had a couple professors do that for me when I went back to school. So I got better, and I was just got to the point where I didn't have to worry about it when I turned it in. So let's try to paraphrase, let's try to quote. If we're using a quote, let's give the author the credit. Course Hero, not a fan. Okay, so if you're looking at Course Hero, and not saying you are, but if you are, and you're looking at papers that have been done in this class, and you use any material in those papers that are posted on Course Hero, Turnitin now flags that type of plagiarism. Okay, so I have students that will literally go to Course Hero, unfortunately, because they're stressed trying to get an assignment in, and they do this copy and paste thing, they rework it, and they turn it in. Turnitin catches it now and alerts me with a flag that it's coming from that direction or from another type site like Course Hero. So don't do it. It's not good practice. And honestly, it needs to come from you. You need to write the essay, you need to do the work, and then find good, supported, cited, scholarly research to support your point of view. Okay. But we've seen a spike in Course Hero, and I'm just making, and I know you saw the announcement that was in our class that came from the university. We're taking a look at this, a really hard look at this, and a hard stance on it. So just be aware of that. And then again, I put apastyle.apa.org because I love that. I just found that site recently. It's APA 7th edition, and it's giving you a lot of great resources for giving credit where it's due. I do put announcements in on a weekly basis, so just check your announcements. Due dates are set in the course. A late penalty is 10% each week the assignment is late. I've had some circumstances, let's be honest, in the last term, so I will work with you on that late penalty if something's going on and you need that extra time. So you just need to communicate. That's it. I cannot accept discussion posts late. So I've had students go, why? You know, and I said, that's the policy of the university. So that's considered a collaborative discussion that's happening on a weekly basis. So it's not an assignment I can accept late, but I can accept your regular assignments late. Just let me know ahead of time so I can help you out. If you miss 2 peer posts, it's basically you've failed the assignment. So even if you do an initial post in your discussion thread, but you don't follow up with 2 peers the following week, you're only going to get 50% on the assignment. So keep that in mind too. I have students that forget the 2 peer posts, and that's okay. If you accidentally forgot, just let me know. But again, I don't want that to impact your grades, so be aware of that. It's completing half the assignment. So let's talk about the final project. I love to show the rubric. So, and there is 2 pages of this rubric, okay? It's a very large assignment. So milestone 1 is your proposal that's due this week. And like I said, you need to identify a company that you want to write about. Now, I have a lot of students that want to write about their own company, okay? Because they're close to it, right? And they see a quality issue. That's all well and good, but if you don't have scholarly research to support that company, like there's no articles out there talking about the company having a quality issue, then I would not approve that as a subject. Because if you notice in the rubric, almost every other box is saying scholarly support, is it supported by research, you know, all of those things. So if it's a big company with a big name like Ford, okay, that's different. You might be able to find some scholarly research out there to support that quality issue. But if it's a small company, it's in your backyard and you work for them, you may not be able to find anything to support that assignment. So just keep that in mind, okay? So it talks about the company background and history, the description of the quality issue, the quality culture. What's their culture like? Were they focused on quality at some point and that fell down, you know, that failed at some point? The voice of the customer. What happened when the quality issue took place? I can talk about Johnson & Johnson. They're a perfect example, and they're still in the middle of a class action suit around baby powder. Okay, so causing certain cancers in females. It's a big deal. It's an ongoing case, and it's a quality issue. Something happened there. Not a warning label, something wasn't, you know, so that's a big case out there with a lot of documentation to support it. So it's something to think about. What happened when customers found out that they may have exposed themselves to something like that? The change management plan. What's your plan to make it better? If you were running the company, what steps would you take to turn that around? And then quality theories. We're going to learn about those in the class that pertain to this problem. Quality tools and techniques. Again, we're going to study a lot of those, but I'm looking for a minimum 3 to be discussed. How would you set about implementing the change? What do you think the resistance to the change is going to be? What's your expected outcomes? And again, research to get that high level of points. You need to have a minimum of 4 sources, but I always say the more the merrier to support your research paper, and then articulation of a response. I'm looking for grammar and things of that nature. All right, so now is the fun part. I'm going to open it up for questions. Any of you guys have any questions? Gosh, you guys are quiet. Are you sure you don't have any questions? I think it's fun to do this kickoff because I usually have a ton of questions or I have none. So it goes either way each term.
Okay, so you talked about voice of the customer. When we like write for the final, can we reference like Yelp reviews and things like that? We can use that kind?
You can tie it, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I had a really interesting one last term. She's studying HR, and of course that's in my wheelhouse. I did that for 20 years, but she wanted to cover a company that was experiencing severe turnover. It was really interesting how she chose to go about it, and she pulled up the Glassdoor reviews. It's just the quality issues. They don't treat their employees well. They could never maintain quality because they can't maintain employees, right? And she linked the two. And she had a lot of scholarly research on the company kind of going downhill. And so I felt she could tie that quality issue. Because, right, you don't treat your people right. Your people aren't going to be concerned about quality or anything else. They're not going to be very productive, right? They're not going to be happy or motivated to come to work every day. So Yelp reviews, Glassdoor, that's just extra things you can bring in to say, hey, this is the, to me, I think employees are too customers, to her point, that impact ultimately the consumer they're trying to appeal to. So something to think about.
Goody. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Well, I will say this, be aware of this final project. I would work on this weekly, guys, because the last thing I want is that you wait till the last week to start a very big project. And I've had a couple students do it, and we have a hard stop at the end of the term. So here's what I do in my own personal writing, because I'm writing all the time in my dissertation. I write a little bit each day. So I take that outline of what I want to write, that proposal. If your proposal gets approved this week, I would start dividing it up by days. And I write a little bit each day and walk away. So by the time I get to, you know, week 6, because it's due in week 7, not week 8, I already have it written. So for this final project, because it's due in week 7, this week when your proposal is approved, and I will do those quickly for you guys, I want you to start thinking about, okay, how am I going to break this project down? And then partner with the library, because they've been really great with my students in terms of finding some really good resources to support the scholarly side. Because remember, scholarly is very different than pulling something from Forbes magazine, which is not scholarly. Okay, so when you're looking for research, you want to tell your librarian, I need scholarly resources that support my quality issue. And so they worked with a lot of my students in the last couple terms, and they found really good source material to support the research project. So keep that in mind. And if you have questions about that, obviously you can always reach out to me or schedule some time during office hours as well. Any other questions before I finish this awesome meeting? Well, listen, guys, I want to thank you for coming to the kickoff. I really appreciate it. And I will post this recording in our announcements this week with the slides. So if you need to refer back. But thank you so much for coming, guys. And let's have an awesome, awesome term.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks. That's my